What's up, y'all, and welcome into the Jack Vita Show. I'm Jack Vita, joining you from sunny Tempe, Arizona, alongside the incredible Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline. Jim, great to have you here, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you, Jack. It's usually in Illinois, but a little warmer weather this time of year.
We're snowbirds now.
That's right.
Jim and I are out here for the Arizona Fall League. The league just started. We've watched 3 games together already and counting. Jim's out here for the first week. I'll be out here for all 6 weeks. And today we're going to chat a little bit about the 2025 Arizona Fall League. Who are some of the prospects to keep an eye on? What is the Fall League in general? And Jim, first let's start with this. Why do you love the Fall League?
Well, I mean, I obviously love prospects. I've been covering prospects for 30 plus years now. But it just, I love being able to come out and watch so many good players, so many good young players, on their way to the big leagues. And, I always kind of describe it. I feel like the fall league's one of the hidden gems in baseball. And I always describe it to people as it's all the best parts about spring training without any of the, I don't know if worst is the right adjective, but without any of the worst parts. The ticket prices are a lot cheaper. The hotel prices are a lot cheaper. You can park very easily, and you can show up right before the game, park at these places. You pretty much get the run of the stadium. This is a great time of year to be out here in, like, if you're going to restaurants, they're a lot less crowded than they are in March when everybody's out here for spring training and everything else that's going on. And I think it's just the quality of league over the years. I've seen so many good players. I think roughly two-thirds of the players who play in this league get to the big leagues in the history. You've had Hall of Famers like, Todd Helton and, Roy was Halladay out here? Maybe not Halladay. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. But, like, Todd Helton was out here, and Mike Piazza was out here, and they've had, a number of Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers. And it's always fun. You always get to see a lot of really good players out here.
Roy Halladay, I don't see him in the Fall League on here.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going. No, you know what? He did play in the fall league. I am remembering right. I'm looking here my story. I think your four Hall of Famers are Derek Jeter, Roy Halladay, Todd Helton, and Mike Piazza.
It's not popping up on the baseball reference, but that was probably before they were like
They,
tracking
they, they
stands
don't
for the
have the
Fall League.
stats back then.
Yeah,
I'm telling
yeah.
100%. Pujols was out here. Max Scherzer was out here. Buster Posey was out here. Well, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. We could go on and on. Mookie Betts, like, just all kinds of great players were out here in the fall league.
So Jim was the one who really, he's the greatest Fall League influencer out there, I think. He's the one who told me, you want to come out here, you can check it out, it's going to be great. And I love it. It's such a, as you said, it's a hidden gem. I'm a huge baseball fan. I get to go to these games as a reporter and I cover stuff, but if I was just looking to go hang out with friends and go to a baseball game, and if I lived in Arizona, or if I wanted to travel and go get away from the cold, because in a month we know what the temperature is going to be like in Chicago, it's a good time to come out here, play a little golf, and go to a couple baseball games. Ticket prices are very friendly. I know that I had a friend who brought her kids out here, and they were able to get autographs from all their favorite players playing out here. It's easier to get access to players
Yep.
because these are, first of all, these are minor league players. Second, there are less people here. And so I think what you're kind of getting at is spring training used to be something that's different from what it is now. It used to be a little more of, I don't know if I'd use the term hidden gem, but it was under the radar compared to what it is now, where it's huge. They're $70 spring training tickets now. It's a big deal. A lot of people travel out here. Fall League, you can get all of those things at a much more reasonable price and get a chance to look at the stars of tomorrow.
No, definitely. And like you said, that access is, a typical fall league game might have, I don't know, 500, 1,000 people out here. So you kind of have to run the ballpark. It's a lot easier to interact with the players. No, it's great. And you're right, because I remember when I first started going to spring training, I think I went in college. I went as a fan, and it was just
I did
starting to
too.
become bigger business. But you didn't have these brand new parks. When I started, the majority of teams were in Florida, and they were kind of in small towns. Now they're in bigger towns, brand new ballparks, and it's a totally different. So you're not just rolling up to Sloan Park here in Mesa and getting a Cubs ticket in March. Like they're probably sold out. B, there's not gonna be no place to park. And all that stuff. So no, it is a really good time. And I mean, just I like it out here too. I mean, it like you said, we're coming from Chicago. It's warmer weather. There's a lot of nice restaurants. It's like I said, I think it's one of the hidden gems in baseball that I don't think a lot of people realize it. It gets overshadowed, obviously, right now by the playoffs, are going on in Major League Baseball, and that's the focus of the coverage. But I've even told people if you need like, the World Series is over, and you're like, oh man, I'm not ready to quit
Yeah.
baseball for a few months.
Yeah.
You still come down here for a week or two and watch some games, and you'll see some players. The players go from here to the big leagues very quick. Like just one example from last year, Nick Kurtz was in the fall league. And now he hit what 35 or 36 home runs as a rookie in the big leagues. I remember Cody Bellinger, I think he led the fall league in home runs the year before he came up and was, big rookie season with the Dodgers. Bryson Stott went from playing in the fall league one year to playing the World Series the next year, and on and on and on. I mean, you could, like I said, about 2/3 of the players who have been in the fall league, going back to 1991, have reached the major leagues.
And to your point, Jim, when your team is out of it, maybe tracking some prospects from your farm system is a good way to spend your time because I know Pat Brennan, who's now over at the Cincinnati Inquirer, covers the Reds. He's from Philly, and he was telling me because last year I was very blessed to cover Andrew Painter for the Inquirer out here, and it was a great experience. He told me that those Phillies fans just shifted gears so quickly from, oh my gosh, our team's out of it, to Andrew Painter is pitching in the fall league. He hasn't pitched in a couple years. How is he doing? And they were really tapped into wanting to know about all of his starts.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have another, really good crop of prospects this year. We've got, two of the top six prospects in baseball. Kevin McGonigal, the Tigers. Tigers fans may want to shift their focus from the playoffs very soon. As we record this, they're down 2-1. But with Kevin McGonigal and Sebastian Walcott, who's a shortstop with the Rangers, that's two of the top six prospects in baseball. And we haven't had. There's always good prospects, like really good prospects in the fall league. But the last time we've had two guys ranked that high in the same year was when Mike Trout and Bryce Harper were teammates on the Scottsdale Scorpions. But you have them. You have Josue DePaula, Braden Montgomery, Johnny Farmelo, or a couple outfielders from Dodgers, White Sox, Mariners. You've got some really good catching prospects, and Alfredo Duno from the Reds, Blake Mitchell from the Royals, some good first baseman, Charlie Condon from the Rockies, Cam Collier from the Reds. All these guys are top 100 prospects, and we even have a couple of top 100 pitchers. Hagen Smith, who was number 5 pick in last year's draft, is here for the White Sox. And then Rhett Lauder, who'd been kind of banged up all season, pitched 9 and a third innings, is down here to get some more work in as well. And those are just top 100 guys. I could go on and on. You and I have been, as we record this on a Wednesday morning, it's day 3 of the fall league season. They've kind of slow rolled out. We had 1 game opening night on Monday, 2 games yesterday. So we've seen every team play once so far. And you can just tick off a bunch more prospects, but the league is as loaded as it usually is.
And it's a great opportunity to get a look at some guys who maybe are not the aircraft carrier type prospects, as our friend Dan O'Dowd would describe them. Some of those guys who could be contributors. Great example would be Caleb Durbin, who was the breakout player of the fall league last year. He played out here the last 2 years, and he was very good out here in the fall league, but he was not a top. I don't think he was a top 30 prospect in the Yankees system. I don't think
He was not. He was not.
Yeah, you guys didn't have him ranked, but he wasn't like a high ceiling guy. But he was like we got a good look at him, contributor, and now he is a contributor on the Milwaukee Brewers as they try to finish off the Chicago Cubs today. Again, we're really dating this podcast with this. We have no idea how these games are going to shake out.
No, exactly. Like, which is why I guess we're not going to focus on the playoffs too much. But
no,
yeah, no. I mean, you see all kinds of guys, come out here and make a name for themselves. And Caleb Durbin's playing a key role for the Brewers, who right now I feel like it's safe to say that they're probably going to play at least another round in the playoffs. It looks like as of today. But yeah, no. I mean, it's not just the big names. You see guys who are lesser players who wind up making it out here. I mean, I remember Cody Freeman. He's not a big name guy. Was out here a couple of years ago. And he won the minor league batting title this year and made it to the big leagues with the Rangers. It's an opportunity for guys to get out there and play and show what they can do.
So, who are you most excited to watch?
Well, I mean, the top 100 prospects are always interesting. Like I said, I mean, I've seen some of these guys before, but like, the three best prospects in the league are three really, really precocious hitters. Kevin McGonigal, who I mentioned, the Tigers shortstop, is probably the best pure hitter in the minor leagues. Sebastian Walcott, of the Rangers, has got, unbelievable power, unbelievable arm strength. He's probably, both those guys, McGonigal is 21, Walcott's still 19. He hasn't turned 20, I don't think, till after the season. Could be pushing for the big leagues next year. And then the Dodgers have an outfielder named Josue De Paula, who's the third highest ranked prospect in the league. And he's kind of, the comps I keep getting on him are kind of like a Yordan Alvarez. He's like not quite as big physically, maybe a little bit more athletic he is a little bit more athletic than Yordan Alvarez, but he's got the chance to be just a devastating hitter, and he's super young too. So those guys are exciting. And for the pitching standpoint, I feel like the pitching's gotten a little bit better this year. Like there's more named pitchers. We actually have two top 100 prospects and Hagen Smith and Rhett Lauder. But we also have a number of guys who missed time during the season but are healthy enough to pitch now. One of my favorite prospects is Daniel Spino of the Guardians, who, going back to 2022, he might have been the best pitching prospect in baseball, and he had the best stuff. Like, I remember seeing him in spring training that year, and I've told the story a million times. I've never seen a guy live as electric as Daniel Spino was. And I was at Paul Skeeton's second big league start, sitting behind home plate against Cubs, where he threw 6 no-hit innings. But Espino, I saw him in the backfields, and he was up to 103 miles an hour with fastball, 93 with the slider, and upper 80s with the curve, and he faced 10 guys, and I think he struck out 9. And shortly after, he was electric. He went to Double-A that year. I think he was only 20 years old, tore it up. And then he had knee tendonitis. And while he was rehabbing the knee, he started coming down with shoulder issues. He's had 2 shoulder surgeries. He went like more than 1,200 days without pitching in a minor league game from April of 22 till September this year. He made 1 appearance at the end of the season before he came. So I was really excited about seeing him, and we got to see him last night pitch. He only pitched an inning. They're taking it carefully with him, but he was up to 99 miles an hour. Slider looked really good. I mean, he kept it simple. I think it was like a 16 pitch inning. It wasn't. He wasn't. He was just trying to go out there and get an inning in, and he looked really good. Right. And he's like a super nice kid. Very sincere, very well spoken. I always enjoy talking to him. So I was really happy to see him, have that success. And, and there was more of that yesterday. Like Luis Perales, who was the best Red Sox pitching prospect before he had Tommy John surgery last year. He came back yesterday. He threw an inning plus. He was up to 101 miles an hour. Bryce Cunningham, who's one of the best pitching prospects in the Yankee system. He's had shoulder issues. He came back yesterday. And it's interesting, like, you get these guys down here in the fall league, and it's there's 6 teams, and each team has 5 organizations. They get roughly 8 players each from, and so you got teammates who aren't used to each other. And Bryce Cunningham's best pitch is his changeup, and in the first inning yesterday, he gave up 4 runs. Like, he wasn't commanding the secondary pitches at all well. In the fastball, he left a couple in bad spots. He was getting hit pretty hard in the first inning, but he threw 1 changeup in the entire inning. And he actually got out with it. And then in the second inning, I almost feel like he probably told the catcher, hey, look, the changeup's my pitch. And he threw more changeups in the second inning, and he pitched a scoreless second and looked more like himself. But, like, that was just kind of getting on the same page, I think, with the catcher who maybe didn't know his stuff as well. But, yeah, no, I mean, there's guys to see every day. Like today, as we record this, I'm going out. I don't know. I got to figure out where I'm going out. I know I'm going on the road. I feel like I'm going to Peoria. I'm going to the west side. I'm here in Scottsdale.
You don't know where you're going today?
I do. I just haven't paid attention. I think I'm going to Peoria.
I think you're in Surprise today.
Wherever Glendale is. Like, so
Glendale at Surprise.
Okay, yeah. I knew I was going out west. I knew the general direction. I would have figured it out. But Hagen Smith is going to pitch today for the White Sox. And, like I said, he was number 5 pick in last year's draft, in the 2024 draft. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. So like there's always guys you can see every day.
Yeah, are there you got a couple maybe under the radar guys who we haven't brought up that you're interested to see? Maybe someone. I mean, you brought up Espino. I don't know if I'd say he's under the radar, but he is someone who has had some injury issues. Who are maybe a couple guys that are we have not brought up that you're really interested in seeing?
Yeah, I mean, just looking, if you want to go, deep sleepers, guys who aren't
Deep
on
sleepers.
like our top 30 prospect lists at all. I mean, the Cubs have a right-hander named Luis Martinez Gomez, who I'm gonna do deep dives here. Who's like a 10th rounder out of Temple Junior College in 2023, and he had a dominant season as a reliever in Class A. He's got a mid-90s fastball and a slider and a splitter. Looking forward to seeing him. The Dodgers have a guy who's got just crazy stuff. A reliever named Alex. I'm going to butcher his name. I'm sorry, Alex Makarowicz, I think. But they've helped him. He was a 13th round pick out of Northwestern State a couple years ago. They've helped him upgrade his stuff. Now he runs a fastball up to 100. He's got a pair of like really power breaking pitches. He struggles to throw strikes at time, I think, because his stuff's so live. But like he misses a ton of bats. He averaged over 15 strikeouts per 9 innings in the minors. And then there's a guy the other night saw him in Scottsdale, Park Harbor, corner infielder, who, in terms of your advanced metrics, he was second in the minors in WRC plus, which is a number that kind of measures overall offensive contributions. He was second in the minors this year. He got traded from the Yankees to the Giants, the Camilo Doval trade. He's interesting. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Like you could go to every game, and you're probably going to see a couple top 100 prospects in the lineup, and all kinds of other interesting players as well.
I love this time of year. It's so much fun. There's just so much to track, and I'm very blessed to be out here for third year for the whole fall league. Is there anything else that fans should know about the fall league, just in general?
Um, no, I mean it's what's nice too is you could come out, as opposed to say, like going to games in Florida for spring training. You could come and stay in one place in the general area, and the longest drive you're probably going to have is 45 minutes to any of the six ballparks. Um, but no, like I said, I mean it's great because you could kind of walk up. You could decide 10 minutes before the game you're going to the game and drive up and get a ticket and park very conveniently. It's just a lot of fun. Like the I'm gonna sound like a shill here. Like they even have cool logos. Like they have
Oh
cool
yes, I'm
logos
glad you brought that up.
for the kids. And so if you want some cool and like kind of off the beaten path baseball souvenirs, there you go. But I can't see that my eyes. I'm looking
Peoria
at this.
Javelinas.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like one of we'll have to rank the logos sometime. But
Oh, that'd be a good
um,
podcast.
yeah, but no, so even there, if you want some cool baseball souvenirs that are a little bit different, like the Fall League's got you covered there as well.
How about you got a good fall league story or two from the past that just kind of maybe it's a player that you saw or gives a little insight, a little look inside what this league is like. Tim Tebow, maybe.
I mean, yeah, I mean Tebow. I mean, the two biggest names they've had that were kind of transcended baseball down here were Michael Jordan, and I didn't come out here the year Michael Jordan was out here, and Tim Tebow. I can't remember what year Tebow was off the top of my head.
2016.
But
Same
he
year
was
as
a
Schwarber.
yeah. We'll circle back to Schwarber in a second. Schwarber's probably one of the more memorable ones. But I would just say with Tebow, it was interesting because he was coming back to baseball after a long layoff, and I mean, it was a pipe dream. You can't miss 10 or so years and then just pick it back up. Like it was going to happen. And the cynic in me will say that I think he had an Adidas deal. Like I think that was kind of part of the reason he was out in the fall league was he had a big new deal with Adidas. It was putting him in the public eye. But I will say I do think he was sincere about trying to make it. I don't think he necessarily realized how hard it was going to be. And it was a zoo. I mean, he played for Scottsdale Scorpions. The park was always jammed when he was here. People were always clamoring for him. He didn't do a whole lot. Like when he first got here, he was trying to pull everything. So he was just rolling over a bunch of weak ground balls, striking out. He was I mean, I'll be honest, a terrible defender, and like could terrible roots in the outfield, and he wasn't much of a base stealer. I think he got banged up, like he slid late, and then he just didn't slide as much after that. But to his credit, he did get better over the year. He didn't have a great year out here, but he wasn't the worst player in the league, and he did have a decent final week. I wound up talking to him after his final game, like, and it was and I got why they limited media access to Tebow. Um, because otherwise you would have people doing a story on him every day. So you could only really talk to him if he did anything. And to be honest, Tebow didn't really do a whole lot out here, but he did finish strong. And I did kind of a post-mortem after his final game. And it was weird too. He was flying in and out of the fall league to go do SEC Nation uh, on the weekends for ESPN. So it was just it was very weird. But he was very nice and he was gracious with his time. I talked to him for 5, 15, or 20 minutes after his final game, and he was sincere. Like I do think the Adidas part of it, like played a role in like, hey, let's how can we put the spotlight on Tebow? But like, he put a couple of years in, try to make it happen. So he was interested. But Schwarber was probably the most interesting because I remember being out here. It was toward the end of the season. We're the guys. For us at MLB Pipeline, we'll cover 1 or 2 games a day, and you run around for a couple of weeks. And I was out here at the end of the season, and I don't even think I had much going on a Saturday, and I don't know what game I was supposed to cover, but it was not. I was not. I don't think I was covering the Mesa game, and I got a call. It's like, hey, Schwarber's going to come out, and this is 2016. Schwarber's going to come out and play tonight for Mesa, and so it was like this big thing. And that year, he got hurt. I don't know if it was the first game. It was the first series of the year. He got hurt playing in Arizona, I think, actually, at Chase Field, playing the outfield, tore up his knee, and was going to miss most of the season. And he had a big, playoff in 2015. And I remember nobody was quite sure, like, what was going on. And I had a source who I know pretty well who's close to Schwarber. And he called me that morning, too. And he said, hey, like, I don't know how they're spinning this, but so like they may try to downplay this. 100%, they're trying to get him ready for the World Series. 100%, and so it was interesting. So Schwarber, had not played. Like I think he played 3 games that season before he got hurt, and then you just hadn't seen him. And it was major knee surgery. He's going to be out for the year. And so none of us knew what to expect. And like my memory is not as sharp as it used to be. I'm trying to call up my stories we talk. Okay, he went 0 for 3. He grounded out in 2 at bats, drew a walk, and then he crushed the ball into the right center field gap that looked like it was gonna be extra bases. The guy made a diving catch. And on the grounders, he kind of jogged down to first. They told him not to run. I'm looking at my story, and he would not speculate whether the Cubs might restore him to the World Series roster, which so this was on Saturday. I guess the World Series started on Tuesday. So it was, and I want to say, I think he came back and played. I think everybody had Sunday off, and he played in another game Monday. But it's kind of crazy. Yeah, second game of the season, he tore both the anterior and lateral cruciate ligaments in his knee in an outfield collision, and obviously he came back. I guess I'm looking at my story. Previously in the week, he visited an orthopedics specialist, and they're like, hey, you could take some BP. Like I guess when they were in LA against the Dodgers, he took some BP. And then they sent him to Mesa, and he spent 3 or 4 days taking a lot of BP, seeing how it worked, and it was pretty cool. So that was pretty cool, unexpected story. We had a walk-off home run, the championship game one year by a guy named Braxton Davidson, who never made it to the big leagues, who broke his leg rounding the bases after he hit the home run. That was kind of crazy. Like he just kind of collapsed coming around third base, and we were at a loss. Like what just happened here? But yeah, I hosted Briseño last year, rising top 100 prospect in the Tigers organization. Hit 3 home runs in a game. That was actually, you mentioned Andrew Painter, and there's a lot of attention with Andrew Painter coming back because he had missed 2 years before he pitched the fall league. And Painter's first game back, if I remember correctly, it was Painter's first game. Jeff McNeil was here rehabbing, trying to get back into the class with the Mets.
He was,
and then Josue Briseño hit 3 homers in that game and kind of stole the spotlight from both of them. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. The Schwarber thing was very cool, especially in light of him being able to join the Cubs and win a World Series. Tyler O'Neill was another guy who came down here and rehabbed with the idea of getting back to the playoffs. You'll see some of that now and again.
Be interesting. Maybe we get some surprise visitors later because Nick Kurtz came out here in the middle of the year last year.
He was
Who knows?
scheduled. That was
Oh,
scheduled.
okay.
Like that was planned all along. He had an injury. I can't remember what the injury was after signing his first round pick. And I don't think he was going to be ready for the start of the season. So that was kind of a planned second. Like the rosters are fluid, especially the pitchers. Sometimes some of the pitchers won't stay out here for a full 6 weeks. But yeah, I mean, there may be. I haven't heard of anybody like a Nick Kurtz. They're like, okay, we're getting him in the second half. But yeah, you do see guys, kind of come and go as well.
All right. If people want to follow the Fall League, how can they do that, Jim?
Yeah, we do a ton of coverage at MLB Pipeline, MLB.com, and it's all free. There's Arizona Fall League website. I know their Twitter handle. It's the only social media I'm really on, Jack. I can't give you all that, but it's MLB AZ Fall League. But yeah, we both love the Fall League, and it's a really cool place to come.
Can stream the games on the website as well.
Yeah, all the games are and they have broadcasters. They have kind of automated pixel lock cameras, and most of the games some have even two guys. Like you even have like two broadcasters, but they're all broadcast, and then they bring in mostly minor league broadcasters, and they do a great job. So like again, like it's a little complicated. Like today, as we record this, there's 4 playoff games, like 4 MLB playoff games.
Yeah.
So people probably have enough baseball. But like I said, as the playoff schedule starts to thin out, like usually there's games at 1:30 Eastern. No, I'm getting times wrong, Jack. Terrible. 1:30 Mountain Time and 6:30 Mountain Time, which is what 4:30, 9:30 Eastern Time. At least the daylight savings thing out here is crazy because they don't observe in Arizona, and so it changes. But anyway, like there's you can watch most days. There's 3 games, and like I said, you can see a lot of good future big league stars.
So watch the games. Jim also has a podcast. He's on Twitter. What's the Twitter?
Jim Callis MLB.
Jim Callis MLB. Jim, thank you so much for your time today. I know you got to run, but I'll probably see you out in Surprise tonight.
Yeah, if I wind up in the right place, yes. But yeah, but yeah, thanks for having me, Jack.
Great to have you. Thanks, Jim. And of course, if you want Arizona Fall League coverage and content, make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel and this show, the Jack Vita Show sports channel here on YouTube, where we also have podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. My website is jackvita.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's all at Jack Vita Show. That's my handle, and you'll get plenty of content. I hope to have some interviews with some of the participants in this year's Fall League. I'll keep you posted on some of that. I'm working on a story for the Baltimore Sun this week on one of the Orioles prospects. So I'll tweet that out. I'll post that once it is complete. So make sure you guys all follow along, subscribe, and we'll be back again soon. We're going to do some MLB playoff coverage once the DS wraps up. I'm going to have Mario Lanza and Albert Destrade from Survivor South Pacific, the losing finalist. He finished 3rd place at 0 votes on Twitter. And his uncle, of course, is Orestes Destrade, the longtime MLB media personality and former player. So make sure you guys all subscribe. And until next time, I'm Jack Vita. Bring in the dancing lobsters.